The rock draw is one of the best rules that has ever been introduced into the game of Survivor, and this occurs in the result of a tied vote at a tribal council. Originally in Survivor, if there was a tie, whoever had the most votes cast against them previously at all tribal councils would be the one to go home. This then evolved even further to a tiebreaker challenge to determine who went home between the tied contestants. But now when a tied vote occurs, cannot be broken and a unanimous decision cannot be made. The two people who were tied in the vote then become immune, and the rest of the castaways put themselves on the chopping block to draw a rock to potentially be the one that goes home. Yes, that's right, it's a game of chance. This is analytical strategy, and I just wanted to make a quick video of a strategy that I have considered in the circumstance of the vote going to rocks, and it could ultimately break this rule and default to a 50-50 chance of the two tied members going home, rather than everyone having to go to rocks. I've pondered this idea for a while, and I'm still unsure whether it is a legitimate strategy or if my mind is playing tricks on me, so please let me know what you think in the comments. Now before I get into it, we must remember that firstly, if the votes are tied, everyone gets the chance to re-vote between the tied contestants. And then if it is still a tie after the re-vote, an open discussion occurs between the castaways. And in this discussion, if a unanimous decision cannot be made by everyone, then it will go to the rock draw. So per the rules of the game, the castaways are given numerous attempts to break this tie prior to the last resort of picking a rock from a bag. Now, other than the final 6 of Survivor Cambodia, where Spencer basically forced Wentworth's hand to make a decision between Kimmy and Keith, to my knowledge, during this discussion period after the revote has occurred, it has basically always gone to rocks, and expectedly so, as if 50% of the castaways want one person gone, and 50% of the castaways want another person gone, then a unanimous decision would obviously be extremely difficult to make, as it wouldn't be mutually beneficial for everyone involved. But what if you could make an argument that would benefit absolutely everyone sitting there except for the two people in the firing line? What if rather than everyone who didn't receive a vote had to draw the rocks, the two people with the tied votes in a sense drew rocks instead? That would be a pretty appealing argument, wouldn't it? And it is possible, well, in a way. In a pretty simple way, actually. So if it was looking like a unanimous decision could not be made, I would propose this simple question to the opposing alliance which I believe would be mutually beneficial. I would say, look, we can all agree that if we could all be safe, and if one of the two people tied went home, that would make our lives a lot easier and a lot more stress-free. And we need to make a unanimous decision to make that happen. So how about we play a game of rock, paper, scissors, a member of my alliance versus a member of yours. Whoever wins gets to keep their alliance member, and in the process none of us have to draw rocks and we can all be safe. It is exactly the same odds to lose an alliance member on each side, but none of the people who didn't receive votes become vulnerable and can go home by chance. Rather, the two people in the firing line do. So whilst this is a completely crazy and insane idea, it is very appealing for everybody who didn't receive a vote to be safe. It takes the power of the rocks out of the game, and is mutually beneficial for everyone involved that has to make the unanimous decision. So whilst it is a little bit out there, I think it could just work. So let's look at the modern rock draws in Survivor to break this down a little bit more. So in Millennials vs Gen X, this is actually when I first thought of this idea, and it was when Will said exactly almost this, that we can all agree that we don't want to sacrifice our own games at the expense of these two, who have received tied votes in Hannah and Zeke, to which everybody agreed. However, they couldn't come up with a way to appeal to each individual and inevitably had to go to rocks. Players like Jessica, especially, who almost switched her vote at the fear of rocks, absolutely would have agreed with this idea, as I expect others would have as well. In this situation, David also played an idol on Ken, so the odds were slightly in his alliance's favour to stay in the game, so I could understand why people may think they wouldn't go for it on a surface level, but again, think about it if you are that person in the game. You have a 1 in 7 chance of going home by a rock, and a 3 in 7 chance of an alliance member of yours going home by a rock, where in Modern Survivor, alliances change at many votes anyway. You can reduce those odds to a 0% chance of you going home, but a 50% chance of an alliance member of yours going home, which isn't too different to a 3 in 7 chance anyway. So overall, again, it minimises the odds for not only yourself, but everybody else in the game to go home by drawing a rock, which I'm sure the majority of people are really fearful of at this stage of the game. In this season of Millennials vs Gen X, I think if someone proposed this idea, it absolutely would have worked. The other modern Survivor rock draw was in Survivor Blood vs Water, with Tyson, Katie and Sierra inevitably going to rocks in this tribal cancel as well. So this one is a little different, as there were less people in the game in only 6 total, and therefore only 3 being eligible to go to rocks this tribal council. So the odds do change, and from Tyson's perspective, there's a 66% chance of Sierra and Katie going home, and only a 33% chance of Tyson and his alliance going home. So it may be a little bit harder to pitch to Tyson and his side of the numbers, but again, it would have been very interesting if, say, Sierra proposed that question to Tyson. If we play rock, paper, scissors and I win, Monica goes. If you win, Hayden goes. But again, elaborating on this and going back to the odds. Would you, Tyson, prefer to have a 33% chance of going home and everything you worked so hard for falling short in the end, losing yourself and your idol in the process? Or a 0% chance of going home, with a 50% chance of Monica going home, keeping your idol and still having a very high chance to win the game if it doesn't go your way, with Monica a high chance to come back from redemption. Again, I think giving him the facts and phrasing it in a way, then this again could have also worked potentially in Blood vs Water. It is pretty crazy to think that something as simple as rock, paper, scissors could potentially break a massive game-changing rule of Survivor. Now the rock draw is so good, because it can force the people who are safe to have to play a game of odds to proceed further, and to keep their alliance intact. To have the game decide your fate for you if you cannot do it yourself is absolutely brilliant. This simple move could also decide a lot of difficult decisions, such as who to take on rewards with you. Rather than making 2 people unhappy, leave it up to chance, get them to play a game of rock, paper, scissors, and the winner can come with you, giving them both the opportunity to join you. Something I'm actually a little surprised hasn't happened to date. I would be interested to see if production would stop this move from happening, and would force you to choose people, as it could really change the game in a lot of situations where you could bypass picking people to say come and reward, or even go to rocks, which would limit the entertainment aspect of the show. I guess one consolidation they could make prior to the rock, paper, scissors happening in the case of a potential rock draw occurring is Jeff could say, whatever happens is not binding, and you still all need to mutually agree after playing rock, paper, scissors on someone going home. It would be extremely interesting to see how it would play out and if it would be successful, or maybe, just maybe, I'm overthinking things overall. But I would be very intrigued to hear what you would all think of this. Could this strategy work? Please let me know down in the comments. If you like these crazy strategies I come up with on this channel, please consider subscribing as I look to propose further ideas like this in future videos. Thanks to everybody for the support and for watching this content. This is Analytical Strategy and we are signing out once again. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.